Hey everyone, Eric here. This is your lecture for Chapter 7, Landscape Design and Grounds Management. One of my favorite topics in landscape management. We're going to talk about the issues that landscape designers sometimes face and some of the issues that they may not even be aware of when designing the landscape. Now, most of you have already had HOR 112 Landscape Design 1. Some of you are already in HOR 213 Landscape Design 2. So hopefully this is a refresher for you, but it is some cool information, and let's get started with your Chapter 7 lecture intro. Responsible design is defined by one landscape architect is sensitive to the environment. Again, remember guys, I always talk about being stewards of the land, to the client or user over an extended period of time, and to the requirements of maintenance personnel. I have yet to meet a landscape architect or designer other than yours truly here that knows how to design for the maintenance contractor. These people out here designing landscapes have no earthly idea what it takes to get a weed eater off the truck, get the mower off the truck, and try to save the client money and save wear and tear on the maintenance personnel performing the job. It drives me absolutely crazy. With the designer's conception and the efforts of the landscape management personnel so intertwined, why is there so little communication between the two camps of people? I don't get it. I think it should be a requirement that a landscape architect cut grass for at least a minimum of 1 year, to be honest with you. It drives me crazy with these little catty-cornered little areas that you have to flat trim with a weed eater. You can't even get a push mower in there. It's just horrible. It throws grass everywhere. Putting grass up against a building, absolutely ridiculous. You need to have that gap of pine straw and shrub bed between the turf grass. It just doesn't make sense, and I don't understand why they can't do it. A lot of these designers can draw the pretty picture, but they cannot design a landscape that is going to be efficient and effective, not only for the homeowner, but definitely the maintenance personnel. Responsibilities of the designer: produce aesthetically pleasing designs. Duh. That should be first and foremost, but you've got to address the client's wishes, and you've got to be attentive to the site. Half these landscape architects or designers, and guys, I have the right to talk about them because I am one. And it drives me crazy that my colleagues out here cannot design a simple design that when I take my maintenance guys over, that it takes us longer to do it because of the poor design. It drives me crazy. But you got to pay close attention to the details. Remember, site inventory and analysis is first and foremost. And do not design the yard or the design based on what you want. You've got to do it for what your client wants. Have good knowledge of horticulture. Again, the theory behind the schools of landscape architecture, they either come from a school of design or school of agriculture. Where do you think the designers are going to get that horticulture knowledge? From the school of ags, not the school of design. Again, so if you're planning on going and getting your bachelor's or a master's of landscape architecture, make sure that it is in the school of ag, please. And then assist the owner in establishing yearly budgets. However, lack of experience and knowledge about the management field is usually a poor attribute of the landscape architect or designer. They just don't know it. And guys, oh my gosh, what is this designer here using? What is in their hand? I do believe that is the Pentel sign pen, the best marker in the world. The manager must educate the clients about low-maintenance landscapes. Highly specialized field. You need to have administrative attributes. You got to have economic, social, political, and make sure that it is sustainable. These landscapes should be able to kind of operate on themselves other than cutting the grass, maybe getting a little bit of water, but using native plants, using turf grasses suitable to the area. It's simple, guys, and it all goes back to knowing your plant materials. And look at this experienced landscape architect showing his younger client the good attributes of his design and talking about going over his maintenance. And actually, I can read the envelope there on the folder. That is Hunter Irrigation doing that. Great irrigation products, by the way. I don't endorse any one of them, but I love Toro, I love Ringbird, and I love Hunter. Budgets. End of the project with funds running short. Wow. Every landscape contractor and maintenance personnel has to deal with that. So what are we going to do? Ground covers are planted further apart. Yes. They're going to size back their trees and make them smaller along with their shrubs. Soil amendments are eliminated. I rarely see soil amendments even added on any commercial job unless you have an on-site landscape architect that decides to pop up and stick his or her head in the project. And they should. It's their project. They should want to see that it's done correctly. Creating problems further down the road. Yes, when you cheap out on the landscape, you're going to hurt your clients' yards. You're going to hurt their pocketbooks. You're going to have them to cause them to redo it and hire Eric Jones a little bit later down the road to correct their mistakes. Design to reduce maintenance. Designs must be sensitive to the client's needs and requirements. The site itself and be aesthetically pleasing and functional. A lot of landscape architects can design pretty pictures, draw those pretty pictures, but they do not know how to design a landscape. Now, take a look at this landscape architecture office here. Nice setup. Got the chart pack markers. We see the trash paper. See the guy probably researching plant material. They both got plans on their desk. Got that big trash can behind them. Well, that's what we need in our studio, so you guys can roll up that trash paper and throw it away quickly when need to. But a good setup here. What I don't like is the individual with his headphones in. He probably needs to be talking to his workmate over there if they're working on the same project. And what I see going on a lot in the studios, there is a cup of coffee. How would you like that cup of coffee to spill on your drawings? But guys, make sure that you tend to these needs, the client's needs, their requirements. You have to talk to them, and you must visit the site inventory and analysis, and then draw that pretty picture. Guys, I know landscape architects that cannot draw a pretty picture, but they design some of the best landscapes I've ever seen, and they hire the individuals who can draw to put their ideas on paper. Topography. Optimum slope is near 2%. I like it to be a little bit more if I'm trying to get water out of somebody's basement, but 3 to 5% to assure dry foundations and buildings. Duh, Eric, you should have read that one first. But then 15 to 20 usually okay for standard equipment. 30% and over is expensive and dangerous. And as you can see, G-Money here trying to push the lawnmower up the hill. You never go up and down the hill. You always go across. But that is super, super dangerous. He could fall flat on his face and that thing roll back on him and actually do some damage to him. Guys, you got to start designing again, thinking about people's safety. Too many accidents happen in the landscape management profession as it is. You got to take these things into consideration. And how in the world did the building code allow us to have these steps there without a handrail? Impossible. This ain't in Winston-Salem. Hardscapes, paved surfaces designed to accommodate anticipated amount of pedestrian traffic. How many is going to be there? Now, we see this nice paver installation that you guys should start researching on your designs in class. And beautiful turfgrass, awesome lighting. This is probably a college campus. Just absolutely gorgeous. It makes you just want to go jump in that water. But heavy textured walks make snow removal difficult. Yes, it's going to be hard to push snow off of this right here. I'd rather do it off concrete than brick pavers. It's just a little easier to get it off concrete. All these little joints and where the blocks come together makes it a little more difficult. Gentle slopes versus steps for snow removal, again, easier. Commercial walks should be 6 to 8 feet wide. Minor walks, usually, even homeowners, 4 to 5 feet. Residential walks wide enough for 2 people to walk side by side. Get people to the destination in the straightest line. But guys, sometimes the shortest path may be a curved line versus the straightest line. Avoid 90-degree turns. Gates need to accommodate a 20-inch mower by minimum. I would love for every gate to be a minimum of 50 inches so I could get my 48-inch mower in it. But you know that is not going to happen. Therefore, you must have to keep a 36-inch walk behind or the 20-inch push mower on the truck. Drives me crazy. Those are some of the yards that we turn down. If we got to push mow it, I don't want to do it, period. Wooden decks and brick pavers expensive to maintain in highly trafficked areas. Parking. Mulch strip where the cars can park. You don't want to have a weed eater up against the front fender or rear bumper. Like this island right here. I've seen people put grass in it. Why? Why? Mulch it, landscape it, plant it. Don't have grass there. Prevents grass clippings on the car, prevents oil from dripping on the grass, and avoid trees with heavy leaf drop. This could be a perfect place. Yeah, I like crepe myrtles and stuff, but you're having to get, when you're in a parking lot like this, and if you go into landscape architecture, you get more into design features like this. Certain municipalities will require so many shade trees per parking lot space, and you've got to research that because it does depend on the state and or the city that you're in. Water features, locate where they can easily be serviced. Again, let's put them in a gate, lock it up, and when you got to have the maintenance person come out there, they can't even get to it. Just kidding. Avoid them in reduced maintenance landscapes and locate away from deciduous trees to keep the leaves from falling in it. As you can see here, there looks like to be a beech tree planted around this one, but we know that the beech trees hang on to their leaves all year long, except when the new leaves push them out. Plant selection. Most landscape architects do not know their plant material. Most critical determination of the maintenance requirements for the landscape is plant selection. Plants that overgrow the allotted space require continual pruning. Place and space plants so that they will have room to mature without being crowded. Hard to do that on some sites, guys. Hard to do that. Avoid plants with invasive roots near sidewalks and underground utilities. Don't plant the maples there, guys. They're going to uplift the sidewalk. Same thing with river birch. You want to go with something that's going to be not so shallowly rooted. Some landscape managers feel that trees with small leaves require less maintenance than those with large foliage. Of course, yes, because you don't want to get those things up. But I would much rather clean up the larger leaves if I'm having to use a backpack blower like this. If you're going to blow them to the street and actually rake them up onto a tarp, the bigger leaves are easier. If you're going to mow them up, the smaller leaves are a lot easier to get up. So that kind of can go both ways, and it depends on what you're doing. And these, I'm actually trying to think, nice uniformed guys out there doing it. Trying to think, those look to be, I'm going to guess maples or maybe poplar. But again, if you're going to blow them up, the bigger leaves are easier to rake up and put on a tarp. The smaller leaves are easier to get in your walker mowers. Turfgrass, select species based on use and traffic. The level of management is available and one adapted to the region. Avoid what I call the idiot strip along the roads. Guys, the idiot strip is right here. Let me see if I can get this little pin to work. This little guy right here. Hopefully you can see this little thing right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is an idiot strip. Yes, it looks good. But worse than that, look at that little guy out there having to stick that mower out there. What are you doing to the landscape contractor? Unreal. Think about this, guys. You're mowing. You got to mow down in here, and you got to weed eat around all that, but you got to mow that strip, you got to mow this strip. But look, your weed eater man or lady is going to weed eat this, go all the way down, then come back this way, and then go back that way. They've walked that sidewalk 3 times. 3 times. Then they got to walk it again to blow it off. Curb and sidewalks. They could possibly have to walk that sidewalk 5 times. Look how much maintenance that is created. I know that's a beautiful little thing to have, but my gosh, to me this right here is better. I'd rather have this than that. And you know what? The state of North Carolina will not allow you to put irrigation over here. And it is illegal to throw water from over here to the idiot strip. I call them the idiot strips because it's an idiot that designed it that way. You can't have water here. So this is going to look horrible when it gets drier weather, and this is going to stay looking good. So make sure you don't have that idiot strip. Ground covers. Provide a finished look. Suppress the weeds. Yes, expensive to install. Require a lot in establishment, watering, fertilization, and weed control. This looks like periwinkle. It is going to get a lot of weeds in it. But that's what Snapshot's for. That's what some of the broadleaf herbicides are for. And you can actually control it a little bit better. Seasonal color. More time consuming than mowing, but worth the effort. Locating key locations. Have few larger beds versus smaller ones located. Have a few larger beds versus smaller ones located throughout the property. So have that pizzazz, that pop, that beautiful color. You got the pampas grass with marigolds and petunias around it. But look, you got a little bit of Bermuda grass popping up in that stuff. Don't like it. You need to have that crisp edge around it. And I would even say kind of come back and actually manually edge it and have a little mulch ring around it to make it pop a little bit better. But, Eric Jones didn't design it, so it's not going to be perfect. Native species require less attention than exotics. Planting sites must have soil that resembles their native soil. They're not going to grow in something that they're not used to. Plants could be exposed to a different ecology and environment. And then a native plant placed in an unfriendly foreign environment is not adapted and will fail. So always try to use native plants, native species. We have plenty in North Carolina that are just absolutely gorgeous. So why try to introduce something that is not going to be good for it? Mulches, they conserve water. They help with weed control. They reduce the maintenance. It is a safety zone for the plants because you're going to get a lot of what I call bad weed eater people. They're going to put that weed eater right around that thing and they're going to cut it right there, and that's going to kill it. Inorganic versus organic. I always prefer organic. I want the pine straw. I want the hardwood mulch. I don't like brick trips. Rock, maybe, but I'd rather go with the organic. How much mulch do I need? Figure the square feet of bed. Decide on 3 or 4 inch depth. And multiply and divide by 27. Guys, you have seen this formula how many times in your horticulture career at Forsyth Tech? So 100 square feet times 0.2 feet equals 25 divided by 27. Different from the textbook. Mowing strips and edging. Again, we're talking about, look at that idiot strip. Absolutely. They should arrest this landscape contractor that did that because you can have no water. No. Well, sorry, that's a W. I like my little red pen. It's a Pentel red sign pen for the screen, ladies and gentlemen. But no, I can deal with this. This is cool. That keeps the mulch and turf grass separate. Irrigation. Irrigate it. Well-designed automated irrigation system is one of the most important and cost-effective methods of establishing a manageable and superior landscape in most regions of the country. Separate from trees, from turf. Again, full coverage versus general coverage. Full coverage, guys, is when you break it down. You separate your shrub beds from your trees and your grass. Everything is on a Pacific zone. General coverage is where you got rotors throwing it everywhere. General coverage is cheaper, but you want the full coverage. Separate it. Drip those plant materials. Drip those trees if possible, and then do rotors and pop-ups on turf grass. But you want to keep your pop-ups separate than your rotors. Planting design, keep it simple. Bed arrangements, mass your plants. Got a bed of hostas here in the shade. This is absolutely gorgeous. Love seeing things like that. I love seeing woody landscapes. You've got the understory and you've got the larger trees over top and a nice mulched bed. And yes, they do have some grass there, but they're having to battle that. But you can. Mission impossible areas, places that are impossible to grow plants, spaces between buildings, non-irrigated spots on the south side of a building, and portions of bed underneath overhangs. Got to take those into consideration. You got to make sure that you're not planting plants where you're going to do our clients in the plant material a disfavor. You want them where they need to be happily growing. And the designer must understand and plan for the maintenance capabilities and the interest of the client. Now, this couple here is going over their landscape. They fell in love with their landscape design that brought their romance back to their life. So they're spending an afternoon talking about their landscape design. As a designer, that would just melt my heart that if I could bring a couple together and enjoy their landscapes together. Unfortunately, you see it right the opposite. Homeboy here is talking about that's going to cost us too much money, but she's looking at him like, sweetie, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to get. If you don't do it, I'm going to pick up the phone and call daddy, and he will send over the check. Starting over. Sometimes it is more cost effective to start over with a new plan. Yes, landscape renovation is what that's called. pull out the old junk and put in the new stuff. Work with the client to do it right the second time. Now, of course, horrible. Builder built a house, probably just walked away, throwed a little bit of grass seed out, and walked away from it. They hired Eric to come in here and do this, and look at this. Perfect landscape design. And guys, that will wrap up Chapter 7. Make sure that you look at the slides. Make sure that you complete the lab. Your lab for this week is the cover page for your landscape management plan. Go back to Unit 2, Week 8, and look at the example there. And I want you to go ahead and upload your cover page exactly or very similar to that with the geodata picture, some pictures of the house, the name of it, your name. We're going to start our labs from here on out are going to be building this LMP that you can finish by the end of the semester. We are on week 9, ladies and gentlemen. We have 6 more weeks after this and we are done. So graduation is approaching closely. Congrats to you seniors that are graduating this year. I'm going to miss you guys when you're gone, but I'm proud to know that we have trained you to be effective horticulturalists in the industry. Guys, my name's Eric Jones, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.